So, you know when a big new AI model just drops out of nowhere? Ever wonder what happens right before that moment? Well, it doesn't just appear. There's this intense, super secret final exam. Let's peek behind that curtain and see exactly how these things get battle tested.
I mean, that's the big question, right? It's one thing for an AI to do well in a lab, but it's a completely different ballgame to be useful, to be reliable, and maybe, just maybe, to be a little bit brilliant out here in the real world. So how do you make that jump?
Well, it all kicks off with a very small, very select group of people who get top-secret early access. We're talking sometimes just days before the public launch. They're the first line of defense and, honestly, the first ones to get a glimpse of the future.
And look, this is no casual kick-the-tires kind of thing. The atmosphere is absolutely electric. You've got this crazy tight review window, so teams just wipe their calendars clean. They spin up these war rooms, and yeah, it's pretty much powered by late nights and a whole lot of coffee. The Slack channels are just buzzing around the clock. It is an all-out sprint to find the model's breaking points.
So, what's the very first thing these testers do when they get their hands on it? They don't mess around with the easy stuff. Nope. The instinct is always the same. You find the absolute hardest, gnarliest problem you have, and you throw it right at the new model to see what happens.
So for one recent launch, we saw 4 different companies jump in, and each one had a totally unique way of doing things. You had Harvey, a legal tech company, bringing in actual experienced lawyers to run it through their specialized legal tests. Then there's Bolt.new, who did a mix of automated checks and some really intense hands-on stress tests. Shopify, they plugged it straight into their day-to-day engineering work. And then there's Lovable, who paired all the hard data with something they call vibe checks.
And that quote really gets to the feeling inside these teams, you know? Even with all the pressure, there's this genuine excitement. Alexandre Passant, an engineering lead at Lovable, he just nailed it. Getting to play with a powerful new model that no one else in the world has seen yet, yeah, it's a bit like Christmas.
Okay, so this brings us to the good part, the results. This is where those aha moments happen. This is where these teams figure out if the new model is just a small step up or if it's a genuine leap forward.
Now, what's really fascinating is how they figured this out. It's kind of like a two-part story. On the one hand, you have the quantitative stuff, the hard numbers, the benchmark scores. But on the other hand, you have the qualitative side, how the model actually feels when a real expert is using it. And you absolutely need both. Because a high score is meaningless if the thing is a pain to actually use.
Let's start with the hard data. Harvey put the new model through the ringer with their Big Law bench. It's this brutal test of real-world legal tasks. And the score? 90.2%. Now, to put that in perspective, this was the first time an Anthropic model had ever broken that 90% barrier. That is a huge, huge win on paper.
But remember the other side of the coin, the feel. At the exact same time, one of Harvey's own lawyers was using the model and came back with this feedback. He said it felt smart and analytical, like it's actually thinking. So, when your hard data and your expert's gut check line up perfectly like that, you know you've got something special.
Meanwhile, over at Bolt.new, they had an even more dramatic test. See, they had this one incredibly stubborn bug with a waterfall graph. The previous model had tried and failed to fix it more than 5 times. It was basically unfixable. So what do? They feed that exact same bug to the new model. The result? It diagnosed the problem and fixed it on the very first try. That's a massive leap.
Then you've got this story from Shopify, which shows a totally different kind of breakthrough. An engineer, Paulo Arruda, gave the AI a really simple instruction. Just move something on a web page. But the AI didn't just do it. It actually anticipated what he would need next and added details he hadn't even thought to ask for. He said it just completely flipped the dynamic. He found himself agreeing with the AI instead of just bossing it around.
And that brings us back to that awesome term from Lovable, the vibe check. This is literally what they call this kind of qualitative test. It's not about scores or percentages. It's about engineers actually building real things with the model to get an intuitive feel, a vibe, for where it shines and where it stumbles. It's a really human way to evaluate a non-human intelligence.
So, okay, when you take all these stories together, you zoom out, and you start to see a much bigger theme emerging. This whole testing period wasn't just about a smarter tool. It was pointing to a fundamental shift in the relationship between us and the AI.
And here's the bottom line. This is what every single team was getting at. With the older models, the AI felt like a tool. A powerful tool, for sure, but one you had to manage and direct. With this new one, it started to feel more like a partner.
a partner that actually collaborates with you, and that is a total game changer.
And you don't have to take my word for it, you can hear it right from them. Bolt.news said the jump in reasoning depth is real. Shopify called it a true collaborator in my day-to-day work, and Lovable pointed to its autonomy, saying people should be creating things that matter, not micromanaging AI. They all felt that same fundamental shift.
And you know that feeling of partnership? It's a two-way street. These testers aren't just customers getting an early look. Their honest feedback, the good, the bad, and the buggy, is absolutely essential. It directly shapes and improves the final model that everyone else gets. They are true partners in building this thing.
So all of this leaves us with a really fascinating final thought. You know, the old way was clear. The human is in charge, the AI is the tool. But as these tests are showing us, we're stepping into a brand new era. And it really makes you wonder, when the AI truly becomes your partner, who's leading the dance?